Hello, everyone, and welcome. As today we're going to be talking about the San Francisco 49ers, Jimmy G coming back healthy, along with some off-season moves and how it may project into the future. San Francisco, I think you've got a legitimate opportunity to be successful this year. You have a little bit of a tough division. The Rams, Seattle. Seattle didn't do a lot last year. Still a good team. Made some improvements. Let's talk a little bit about the 49ers roster. So at quarterback, you've got Jimmy Garoppolo. Got hurt last year. Okay. The expectation is there. He's 27 years old. Very accurate quarterback with a high awareness. He is going to make everybody around him better. At running back, you've added Telvin Coleman, a 6'1", 210-pounder that's 26 years old, who's going to add some speed along with Matt Burdea and McKinnon coming back healthy. Even Mozart. I mean, together as a tandem of running backs, they are very productive. They catch well out of the backfield. You're going to get some first downs out of that group, and especially catching the ball. Telvin Coleman has shown the ability to have big plays in the passing game. Touchdowns, 50-yard touchdowns. You've got some ability around Jimmy G and depth at the running back position. Okay, so I think where the Niners are best is probably wide receiver. You've got Dante Pettis. You've got Marquise Goodwin, a speed receiver. Dante Pettis being speed / possession receiver with some ability to score. Okay. Deebo Samuel, second round pick, very athletic, a lot of run after the catch. I think he adds a lot. So Marquise is going to challenge teams deep with electrifying speed. He's got Olympian speed, okay? And Deebo underneath on the outlet routes really brings productive consistency, if that makes sense. So Deebo is going to be in the flat a lot, running short routes, zigs, outs, things of that nature. And he's going to give you some run after the catch. Another receiver you guys added this year is Jalen Hurd. 6'4", 227-pound rookie out of Baylor. Do I think he's going to get a lot of catches? Probably not, but the catches he does get will be productive, and he will help tremendously with his size, athleticism, and hands in the red zone. And then you have the tight end, George Kittle. Great from last year. And you added Caden Smith, another productive possession receiving. On the vertical routes, he is a little bit of a threat. I don't know if he's going to be as much of a vertical threat in the NFL. I think if he can be a possession tight end, I think he will be at his best. Far as the offensive line is concerned, your tackle spots look pretty good. Mike McClinchy, Joe Staley. Okay. You have some talent there. You have some things to look forward to as far as, two guys that have been there, at least there, for a lot of years. And he has a lot of experience to a very young group. The interior of your offensive line is a little bit concerning. There's not any big names. The interior of the offensive line is going to be all about who can step up and be the player that the Niners need. On defense, we're talking about Joey Bosa added to the defensive line that they have assembled over the last few years. You're talking Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, DeForest Buckner. And now you add Joey Bosa to that group. In nickel packages, this could be explosive. It's going to lead to a lot of sacks. Let's be honest. Teams are going to have wider splits on the offensive line to try to stop Bosa. And Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, and DeForest Buckner are going to eat them up in the middle. Do I think Bosa will be productive on the outside? Absolutely. Yes, I do. I think he's a double-digit sack man his first year. But I think DeForest Buckner, once Bosa gets some experience and wins the respect of the rest of the league, and the splits of the opposing offensive lines widen, I think DeForest Buckner is going to eat opposing teams alive. And I think he has the best year of his career. By far, actually. D Ford. So Bosa and D Ford. 2 pass rushers on either side, and especially in nickel packages, that are going to set the perimeter. The biggest things in defense is, can you force teams to play in between the hashes? And Joey Bosa and D Ford, that's what they're going to do. That's how they're going to help. They're going to get an upfield rush, and they're going to force teams in the running game to play in between the hashes where they have the most help. They will set the perimeter very well. As far as, you have in your other linebackers, you have Malcolm Smith. I think the middle linebackers of this group, I think it remains to be seen. Let's see what Fred Warner does. Let's see what all these guys do. Kwan Alexander. Let's see how this works out. Can this defensive line keep blockers from getting to that second level and let these if Kwan Alexander can run and hit, he'll do well. If he can just worry primarily about the passing game and stay free of blockers in the running game and run and hit, he's going to be fine. If not, there could be problems. He's an undersized linebacker with 300-pounders coming at him. That could be very bad. Okay? And in the cornerback spot, you have Richard Sherman, Jimmy Ward. It's not real deep at the cornerback spot. There's Jason Verrett. So you have a nucleus in your defensive backfield, but your safety group, it just remains to be seen. Okay? So just because they haven't done it yet doesn't mean they won't do it. As far as be productive and shut people down and make plays on the ball, it just hasn't happened yet. Your front seven will be extremely active, which will help a young group in the secondary be dynamic. I do believe Bosa is going to help the Niners out unbelievably. I think the biggest additions are Telvin Coleman and Deebo Samuel. Both explosive players. McKinnon coming back, I think it's huge. Jimmy Garoppolo it doesn't take a lot to understand why a Jimmy Garoppolo coming back is going to help your football team. This guy's good in the pocket, good feet, good awareness, good arm. And what impresses me most about him is when he gets into the red zone, he retains that high awareness some quarterbacks struggle with. Okay, so he has even a red zone accuracy, which some quarterbacks struggle with. A lot of your speed is coming back with McKinnon. You didn't get to see a lot of it last year. You got to see just a little bit of what McKinnon could bring, but in Minnesota, he was a very productive first down getter kind of guy who has the ability to run inside as well. Deebo Samuel on the outside and in special teams is going to bring it. He is a guy we may be talking about in the future, trying to figure out how did this guy slide in the draft. And if we'll be doing draft redos at the end of the year. And, he's a guy that in a draft redo might get selected in the first round. And without question, if I have to pick a guy on San Francisco who could contend for Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's Deebo Samuel, without question. Maybe he may be in a situation where he may be able to become the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Joey Bosa, I think he's got some potential for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Really, it's all about, can you keep guys healthy? Can you get the production from the middle of your offensive line? You've got the tackles. Can you get the production from the interior three, left guard, center, and right guard? Can you get that production? They don't have to be outstanding. They just have to be productive on the inside. That's it. And this team will win some football games. Do I think they're good enough to make the playoffs? No, I don't. The interior of your offensive line is very important for pass protection, for Jimmy G to have a passing lane to throw through, or a running back, whoever it is, whether it's McKinnon, whether it's Berdea, whether it's Telvin Coleman, whether it's Raheem Mostert, to run through. Okay? Now, do I think in the pass, I think the passing game, throwing to the outlet receivers is going to improve. I think you're going to get a lot more production out of your running backs in the passing game. That is going to get better. Could you win some games if you have some running backs make some big plays and other guys get excited and you get some things going? I definitely see that. Do I see the playoffs? No. I best scenario that I can see is 8-8, 9-7. It is hard to have the second worst record in the NFL and make the playoffs the next year. That is extremely difficult. But do I see the Niners as a team that could compete? Absolutely. Do I see a team that could get you excited? Absolutely. Do I see a team that is going to make some highlight reels? Absolutely. Marquise Goodwin gets better every year. Jalen Hurd will be good. You had a good draft. Jimmy G being healthy is going to be a huge addition. I think the Niners knocked it out of the park on their first three picks. In the fourth round, they must have been really impressed with Mitch Wishnowsky. They must have been impressed with punter out of Utah. Fourth round pick, punter. Let's hope he's good. But if he makes, if he has a 44-yard punting average for the season as a rookie kicker, he will have done his job. And he, special teams is important. Field position, setting your defense up for success. As far as it, I just don't think the Niners have the depth at cornerback to be competitive when you got to play the Rams twice a year. You're going to see the Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to be a much improved team. So when you got to see the Rams in Seattle a couple of times a year, right now, do I think there's potential to possibly split with Seattle? Maybe. Depends. Seattle's got some good wide receivers up there. The Rams, they've got some good wide receivers. So in the NFC West, it's really all about who do you have at your starting corners, which the Niners have some starting corners. I will give you that, San Francisco. But you don't have the depth. And you don't have the safeties either. Now on offense, I definitely think they have made the moves to be more explosive. On the defensive side, I think they made the moves to get more pass pressure, which will help. They couldn't get the corners, so they went and got the pass pressure. Hey, you can work with that. Now, with all this being said, once the season gets started, anything could happen. What if Joey Bosa and Dee Ford are the best combination of pass rushers in one season in history? And, there's a lot of what ifs. But right now, on paper, how it looks, it just looks like the Niners are going to have a stable quarterback in Jimmy G, and he's going to keep you in a lot of games. And it's going to be up to the defense to make the difference. So who on your roster can step up? Who is going to be the guy in that defensive backfield that is going to be the difference maker as far as a depth position? And I just don't see that guy. From a cornerback stand, not talking about your starters. Your starters are good. But from a depth position, I just don't see it. Richard Sherman, Jason Verrett, Jimmy Ward. Okay. After that, there's a lot that remains to be seen. And your safeties are almost unknown. I think the biggest thing will be I'm big on outlet receivers. Dante Pettis will be better. But just feed George Kittle the ball again. And when George Kittle's not open, throw it to Samuel. When Samuel's not open, you have the last threat. At every now and then, you have an offset throw, which might go to a Marquise Goodwin or a Dante Pettis. And the rest of the time, feed George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and whatever running back you've got on the field. And if you do that, you'll get some first downs. You'll put some points on the board. And the more opportunities you have in the red zone, the more opportunities you have to win. That'll help. Because it'll rest your defense. And if you have a rested front seven, especially with small interior linebackers, it will help. And that's how you go 8-8. So 8-8 for this team is the best I really see. If they had one, maybe two more corners with a little bit more potential, a higher ceiling, whatever the case is. Now, any of these guys could explode, be the guy, be the unknown factor. I just can't stand up here and say, hey, I see enough potential at this point to say that, hey, this guy's the guy or that guy's the guy. So Niners, you got some pass pressure. It's going to help. Even if your starting cornerbacks stay healthy, I still see 8-8. Still. Your deep threat, yes, he's fast, but he's inconsistent. He's not a highly productive guy. You don't have a bona fide number one wide receiver. You've got a lot of guys that can contribute. The best thing is Jimmy G is very good at distributing the football. He watched Tom Brady distribute the football to a lot of different receivers for a lot of years. So that's what he looks to do. And will be continued to coach to do as well. I would continue to feed George Kittle. I would feed Deebo Samuel and whatever, and I would have a running back rotation. Everybody getting about, maybe 15 each running back getting a maximum of 15 touches. Not every game. There's not enough plays in the game to give everybody 15 touches. But in that running back rotation. So one game, you might have 2 running backs getting 15 touches. So that's 30 touches to a running back fast. And you could have some explosive plays in the second half of the season. And if you're going to do something, your running back depth is where to do it. That is the strength between George Kittle and the strength of your running backs. Depth. That's how you're going to win some football games. But early on in the season, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to try to survive at 4-4, and if you make a push, I don't think you've got enough, but if you do, it's going to be your running backs being rested enough and able to play faster. Because they're all speed running backs, so they depend on being healthy and playing fast. So they've got to be rested. You wear them out, you're done. I think that's the plan anyway. I think that's why they have so many of them. In back-to-back years, they went out and got 2 speed running backs in McKinnon and in Telvin Coleman. Okay? There's a lot of reason to be excited, though. You do have pass rushers now, and you are in a great position to go into the offseason next year and get better. This is I wouldn't say you're rebuilding. No. I would say this is a year where you can set a foundation for the future of your franchise. I think there's going to be some good football in the future of San Francisco. I think John Lynch as a GM is doing a pretty good job. I know it can be hard to wait a few years until they get enough, but you can only add so much per year. With the salary cap being, and then you're recruiting guys. A lot of guys want to try to play for a contender. So you got to get guys on the back end and through the draft that can kind of help bolster your roster until you can get guys, players that really want to play for you. You've got to be at least an 8-8 team before you're really going to make a splash in free agency. And then you got to have the salary cap room. Okay? Or you're going to overpay your free agents. So it's not a bad thing. See, if you wait for success for a few years, you'll have longevity when that success comes. So you'll be able to enjoy a few more winning seasons. And I think this year is the foundation for all of that. So if San Francisco goes 8-8, I think it's great for the organization. I think it's great for San Francisco. And I believe that the excitement comes because it's setting the foundation for the future of the franchise. Jalen Hurd, Deebo Samuel, 2 very good wide receivers to go along with Dante Pettis for, just speaking about future and implications. And you got Jimmy G, and you've got you don't have an old running back on your roster, and they're all very productive. A lot to be excited about San Francisco. I hope you enjoyed watching. Join me next week as we go through some more roster moves from the 49ers. Have a great week, everybody.